Hello, and welcome to Jason Cavness Experience. I'm your host, Jason Cavness. I'm a retired U.S. Army officer and CEO founder of Cavness HR. At Cavness HR, we provide affordable and tailored HR for small business with 49 or fewer people. We combine a platform to automate your HR while providing you a dedicated HR business partner for more complex HR challenges. Focus on your business, Cavness HR has your HR. Today's guest, Dr. Jamar Montgomery, started college at 11, became the Navy's youngest weapons system engineer, and had 3 degrees before turning 30. He's done it all. He's a true Renaissance man. Engineering, defense, law, education, and blockchain. Not known as a Web3 statesman, he's shaping the future of blockchain, AI, and public policy around the world. Dr. Montgomery, welcome to the Jason Cavness Experience.
Oh man, great to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about a lot, but I want to start with like a current event, right? I'm intrigued by this NFL draft, right? And the drop of Shadur Sanders, right?
Yeah,
I mean, to me, it's like complete BS, right?
yeah,
And I know some people say we might disagree on this. I know some people say it's because of racism. I think it's more of like a anti-Sanders dynamic, right?
okay.
What's your take on that?
An anti-standards dynamic.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
like Deion Sanders, he's this flash,
Oh, got
they're
you.
scared if they draft his son, he's gonna come in and be there all the time, like
Got you.
back to when Deion Sanders played for the 49ers Cowboys, this bigger than life personality.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the all these anonymous sources was a bunch of bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Or his ego's too big for his talent, or like it's like boggles my mind.
Well, you're having somebody come on a team versus the team being revolving around that particular person, and anytime that you have a situation like that, it's difficult, right? Because you as a team have a particular order that you want, right? And Shador Sanders, yeah, larger than life personality with coming from his dad, seeing what his dad has done, the influence that his dad has, and it's hard to argue with somebody like Deion Sanders, right? Probably maybe the greatest athlete that we've seen definitely in our lifetime. What he won a Super Bowl and then was playing in the Major League Baseball, right? So, you know, it's one of those things where, as a confident young man, right, and especially add on the part about being black, that certain teams aren't necessarily going to like that. People aren't going to like that. People want to have an issue with that because you're confident, because you believe in yourself, because uh, you're unapologetic about advocating and marketing yourself. So I've been seeing the chatter about people saying like, oh, we're trying to teach them a lesson and things like that, and I understand why they would do that. I don't agree with it, but it comes with the territory.
Yeah, I've seen the term butt breaking used a lot recently.
Mm, I've seen that term. It's hard to be buck. It's hard to be broken as a buck when you're making millions of dollars.
Yeah, they're not going to break him. I mean, yeah.
You know what I mean? To maybe definitely break your confidence, and kind of break you down. But I wouldn't go as far as buck breaking.
And then some people say, well, we don't want him coming in because he's going to bring all the cameras, all that stuff. And this guy named Rich Eisen on the NFL players, I'm gonna push back, right? Doesn't the NFL do like Hard Knocks mid-season, cameras everywhere? Even if he tried to bring cameras in, like Mike Tomlin wouldn't allow that. Another thing too, like not to mean cut off, but like one thing against Shadur and all other quarterbacks, a lot of teams didn't need quarterbacks, right? New England didn't need one. The Rams, a lot of teams did not need one, right?
Yeah. Once again, dude, when you're looking at people with that kind of experience, it's like, okay, well, once again, they want it to be about the team, right? And then the team determines what is it, their franchise player, right? The team wants to be able to determine that, not this. I'm Shador Sanders. This is how I'm running things, and the show is all about me.
Yeah.
Right. That like you're now moving into a totally different organization, and to be honest, right, moving from college to professional football is like going from 0 to 1.
Yeah, it's a big step, right?
It's a big step, and you're going in there with this attitude. Not even going with the attitude. You were hot stuff in college, but now you're going with people who literally feed their families.
And then a dynamic with the he's too confident. Like, how can you be too confident? I've never heard that before, right? Just like people saying, your dad takes care of you too much. Cares like, is it like, shouldn't everyone want that problem? Their dad's caring too much for them, right?
Yeah.
I don't get it. So I know the Browns. So in case you don't know, he got selected by the Browns. So now the Browns have Joe Flacco, 40 years old, Kirby Puckett, I don't know how he's in the NFL. Dylan Gabriel, who's a decent quarterback in college. My prediction is like Shedeur Sanders been starting quarterback at Cleveland Browns by game 12.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
Okay.
By game 12.
Okay.
Cause he's gonna have that Tom Brady feel like they looked me over, they fucked me over, right? And he's gonna like, I'll show you all everyone, right?
Well, I mean, work ethic.
Yeah.
Right.
And one good thing is like he's gonna he's gonna prove the world how's the work ethic is, how's all this stuff is like, and maybe he need to maybe he doesn't need to take a look at stuff. Maybe I do come across as brash or like uncaring, right? So lessons to be learned, maybe.
Once again, when you're in college, right? And once again, if you got it like that, more power to you. But not everybody's had that same road. And so now you're going up against people who might have a chip on their shoulder. You know what I mean? And then him coming in with a chip on the shoulder because of his dad and all of that, right? It's going to come down to work ethic. It's going to come down to, you might be talented, but do you really have the work ethic to be in here with folks that literally had to fight to be here?
Yeah.
Right? And not to say that he didn't have to also fight to be there, but it's not only fighting to be there, but fight to stay there as well.
Yeah. So we move on. You actually have your mentee here in the room today.
I do.
Can you? I know he's here. He just graduated from Southern University, looking for a job. Can you give like a brief on him or how you helping him out or what he's trying to accomplish?
Well, it's not just looking for a job. It's more so of looking for the right opportunities, right? Because oftentimes what we'll do is we'll put our best and brightest and immediately try to get them a job. So it's business opportunities and also employment opportunities. And the reason why I say that is because being able to understand what it's like to be an employee and some of the challenges that employees have, and then when you're the one running the show, being able to have that appreciation for what it takes to be an employee and also what it takes in order to be a leader. But yeah, I'm very proud of my mentee, Elijah J.D. Priestley, who just graduated from Southern University with a dual degree in math and physics. He is the youngest dual degree graduate of Southern University, the youngest dual degree graduate in Louisiana's history. And I also want to say a little something about Southern University. It is a doggone shame. I was getting ready to cuss, right? I'm learning.
You can cuss if you want to.
I'm trying to clean up my own language for my own self.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I have learned that cursing is not becoming of kings, right? So it is a doggone shame what Southern University.
I remember you posted about this.
Yep. To think that no job prospects or even internships were set up for him before he even graduated. Think about that. They don't even have it they don't even have the foresight within their own selves. Hey, we put him on the forefront. Oh, also let's set him up so that hey, this is our crown jewel of Southern University. Bad leadership.
Like put the spotlight on him.
Bad leadership.
This is what Southern University. This is the type of people Southern University produces.
Bad decisions. Bad leadership. Bad leadership decisions. All of that. Like, the administration is no stranger to me. They're no stranger to me. I've been raising hell since I got to the university.
So, let's switch to HBCUs, right?
Yep.
So, HBCUs. Can you give a brief history of why they got started and how they got started?
HBCUs, historically black college and universities, originally started out as schools they originally started off as teaching schools. They were not necessarily designed for areas they were designed for higher education, but not higher education in the sense of we're going to create black professionals. It was originally for the agricultural for agricultural and mechanical, right? So teaching colleges for you to become a teacher and for you to become in the agricultural industry. You will find something about what's the name of it? There was a book that a colleague of mine gave me that really ran down the history of HBCUs, because oftentimes we hear about HBCUs were created to educate black students, and really HBCUs were also created to be the places of education of bastard children of slave masters.
I did not know that.
There's a book. It's not the half that was never told. There's another book. It talks about. Oh my goodness! I wish I had it. I'm gonna hit my colleague up about that. But it blew my mind because I thought that HBCUs were there to educate black folks, and in a sense they were. but it was to educate you in a specific area and to keep you as a permanent underclass in one perspective. And as America started needing more talent because there weren't enough white folks going to college and things like that, it's like, oh, let's make sure that our HBCUs also have these other degree programs, right? So HBCUs are a great institution, but our HBCUs, many of our HBCUs are failing our children.
So why do you think? I mean, it seems like there's always been a stereotype of the word HBCUs, like they're underfunded. The people, the admin at the top, kind of like don't really do their job that well. They tear us out to students. Why do you think that is? I mean,
I think it's a number of factors. It's a number of factors. The administration can make anywhere. People in higher administration at the HBCUs will make $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to remember that the product is the students, right? And you can't screw over your students. Any student that's gone to an HBCU has had trouble with financial aid. Any student, right? If it's anything that an HBCU will do, is will prepare you for when life screws you over. So when you come out in that HBCU, you are very prepared for all the twists and turns that life will give you because you experienced so much of that in your HBCU, right? The challenge with HBCUs is we have created opportunity for everybody, which isn't a bad thing, but you can't cater to everybody and also expect excellence. There's a reason why Harvard is Harvard, and it's because they accept the best. Then they also get the best to train their students, right? That isn't to say that students who have a lot of potential, right, aren't at HBCUs, because there's plenty of students with potential. But oftentimes the students with potential, when they find great teachers, they find a way of running the teachers out. I don't know, Elijah, has that been your experience? Yeah. Right, having great teachers, and the teachers are only there for
1 or 2 semesters.
1 or 2 semesters, and then they're gone, right? Because all what they have to do with the administration, whatever politics that they have to deal with, and it's now the students lose out, right? The students lose out. So HBCUs have to get their finances in order, right? And I will tell you one HBCU that I've been very impressed with, Morgan State University.
That's in Maryland, right?
That's in Maryland or Delaware.
Delaware, one of those, okay.
But the DMV area, right? When I went to Morgan State to see what they're doing on their campus, right, to see how they've expanded, especially like their business school, right? Now, I will say this. Shout out to Southern University College of Business. Southern University College of Business doing amazing things, right? But that's just one college within the greater university, right? I'm a graduate of not only the Southern University Law Center, but also the Southern University College of Business. So moving back to what I said about Morgan State, right, I was invited to speak at a conference, blockchain conference at Morgan State. And just to see how they've expanded, how their leadership really has made the difference in the success of that university. Now, moving back to Southern University, right, we have Chancellor John K. Pierre, who was at one point in time the chancellor of Southern University Law Center, right? That's not to say that Chancellor John K. Pierre isn't a good chancellor, but he's coming into a system already needed a lot of cleaning of house. And if it's anything that I've known in Louisiana, they do not like disruption. They like to keep the status quo to their own detriment. And an example is what they've done with my mentee, right? When I was at that graduation, it just made me. I was steaming because I watched them give honor and respect to a student that had died maybe like a week before. Granted, I understand that, right? But you give more honor and respect to the dead than you give to the living.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, right? I'm phrase this correctly, right? Is there still a place for HBCUs? The reason I ask, like, you're a young black person, you're at HBCUs, you're kind of a little bubble, other black people around you. Does that really, like, set you up to, deal with the real world where you might be places where you might be the only black person in the room?
I'm gonna rephrase it. It prepares you for life's challenges, right? And mind you, even though you go to an HBCU and you're around black people, you're still in this, that's a microcosm that you're in because you still have to interact with the external world, right? I will say that HBCUs prepare you for life's twists and turns, and also it instills into you a greater work ethic. It really instills into you a greater work ethic. Does it prepare you for what your experiences may be out of? Does it prepare you for being in a corporate environment? That's a good question. Does it prepare you to excel in a corporate environment? They will prepare you to be a professional. Will they prepare you to excel? I think that's up to you as an individual, but they will prepare you to be a professional. And it comes down to the student. It comes down to the student as well about what you want to get out of your education.
Okay.
What you want to get out of your education. So I don't feel like I've answered your question fully.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I've answered your question fully. I think that as a black person existing in America, right, you already are used to being in places where you're probably the only black person there, right? So it feels good to be in an environment where there's a lot of people who look like you, right? The one thing I will say is at an HBCU, recognizing that the people that are inside there are not your competition. That's literally your network.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's the part.
So many people get that wrong, right?
Yeah.
Some people get that wrong.
Yeah, I think that, and then I saw that at the law center, is that at Southern University Law Center, is that so many of the black students thought that we were our competition, and you're not.
No.
And that's one of the things that differentiated me and that tried to instill in some of my classmates. But contrast that with the College of Business. Everybody was in there trying to work together, right? So it was just a different understanding.
Yeah.
A different understanding, and I would just encourage all the students there to recognize that when you're at these HBCUs, that is probably the last time that you'll ever be in an environment like that. So really cherish it.
So next, talk about process of going to college so long and getting your degree so young, right? Like when did they figure out like you were borderline genius, right? Like, man, Jamar's kind of freaking smart, right? We need to push this guy.
I mean, my parents, they identified that when I was younger, and so they always were pushing me, always exposing me to different experiences and things of life, from traveling internationally, traveling around the state, traveling around the country, and then traveling internationally. Those things were important, right? Because now I have exposure, so my mind I see that there's something much bigger than what is directly in front of my face, right? Then, you let my dad tell it. He'll still tell the story about when I put a towel over my head and said I was invisible and walked straight into a wall, right? So, you know what I mean? Like, even being a genius, right? You're still a kid, right? You're still a kid. And they just recognize the importance of exposing me early and challenging me early, and not accepting excuses, right? Not accepting excuses, and really honing in on my potential. And shout out to my parents for being able to identify that. And then, I mean, you got, my parents are college educated, but still being college educated, nobody had a manual for me being a kid. You know what I mean? None of us in here came with an instruction manual. So now being able to take this little person and guide them and put them in the right direction where they can discover their purpose and cultivate their talents, right? That's a very challenging job.
Yeah, the question is like, how many people out there were not blessed with parents like you? How many parents that there could have been Dr. Jamar Montgomery? So either the parents have GEDs or they're in a bad environment, or like they're like, oh, you're a dumb kid, not knowing they might be dumb in this area, but actually genius something else, right?
Absolutely.
It's just
And that's the challenge, right? And then on top of that, it requires for you as a parent to push your kids out into these different environments, and environments where you may not think that they're capable, that you might be unsure, that you might have reservations, but your kid actually comes out and thrives, but you won't know until you actually put them out there.
So this has always been one of my pet peeves, right? When there's you have a parent, right, and get jealous of a kid, like the kid's smarter than you, like that's a blessing, right? Like you should take this blessing, not be mad or jealous of a kid, and you try to hold a kid back. I never like understood that thinking from a lot of people.
Well, the thing is that everybody is you. What I mean is that everybody is just a reflection of things that you like about yourself or don't like about yourself, right? And so what happened? Me and my mentee were just having this conversation last night.
Yeah.
About like as a mentor and a mentee, right? Let's say if I was jealous of him. I'm giving him life lessons that I had to pay for with blood, sweat, and tears, right? And now I'm looking at him like, well,
I had to pay the price.
I had to pay the price.
You're going to pay the price too,
right? That's jealousy.
Yeah.
But so what it is, instead of I'm thinking about myself instead of thinking about him and what's best for him, and that's what happens with some parents, is that we also have to remember that these are people. These are flawed individuals. These are individuals who may or may not have healed their own traumas, right? Who may or may not forgiven themselves for bad decisions that they've made, may or may not forgiven themselves, release whatever shame that they have from whatever decisions. And that's challenging, right? And it shows the importance of really being aware of yourself and tapping in with yourself to really become the best person that you can be.
Or maybe they're like, I was raised this way, I turned out okay, I'll do the same to my kid. Or even worse, my parents did this to me, so I'm doing the opposite. But maybe that's the right way to raise a kid.
Maybe it is, right? And you have to think about those things. And then the problem is when we take that particular stance, and don't have empathy towards our parents.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? Because it's like maybe what they did was the right thing. How they went about it was the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for instance, I remember my mom. I was in a calculus class or algebra class, right? And my mom was talking to me crazy, like I'm dumb. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you think you're smart, blah blah blah. And I was like, when I got older, I didn't appreciate it. Like, I was crying and all that stuff. I told my mom, I said, I was 11 learning algebra.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so it's like, yeah, you felt good in that moment, but let's also remember, yes, it's good that you're pushing me, right? You could have did it in a different way. But maybe you didn't have the tools to be able to do it that particular way, right? You're a frustrated parent. You just got done working. Now you got to help me with homework.
Let me ask you this. Why do you think this is, right? I think from all generations back to Bible times, like 1,000 years ago, it's like every generation, the current generation, the generation before me, they're dumb. They know what they're doing. They know about tech. Like, they like screw the world up. I'm the best generation. The generation after me, they're lazy as fuck. They're like not doing things. They're entitled, right? Why do you think this like repeats itself over and over again?
Because each generation forgets that they were once young, and each generation doesn't realize that one day they will be old. So, age,
either death or age comes for us all, right?
Absolutely. So what does that mean? That means that, guess what? You have a lot of complaints and criticism of the older generation. Well, guess what? You're going to have your chance to mess things up too.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're going to go in and try to make the best decisions that you can with the information that you have. And let's also remember that sometimes you're going to make the bad decisions because you didn't care about making the best decision. So it really comes down to empathy and understanding and wisdom, because once again, it's going to be your turn to be criticized as well.
Yeah, I definitely think the war like that's empathy. Like like a lot of times you might be walking like, man, why is this person walking so slow? Well, maybe they had a back surgery. Maybe they have a sprained ankle, or different things, right? Or maybe you're driving, man, why is this jackass driving so slow? Well, maybe you see as a license plate from out of state, he doesn't know where he's going. Like yeah, we lack empathy for sure.
Yeah, we
across
do.
the human race.
We do, and you can only give to others what you already give to yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're thinking those kinds of things, if that's what's on your mind, then it's either you haven't been exposed, or you've been exposed and you don't have any empathy.
Yeah. So let's talk about your time in the Navy. I'm not sure if most people know you were even in the Navy.
I worked for the Navy.
You worked for the Navy.
I
Okay.
worked for the Navy, so I was NAVC.
So how did you go? To me, I mean, looking on the outside, like, man, you just graduated at 19, this great degree. Why would you want to be involved with anything military, right?
Well, the funny part about it is I actually wanted to be a fighter pilot, and I got bad advice from my parents. This was the bad advice. I ended up, crazy part, I was a victim of childhood sexual assault. So my daughter's mother was 26 and I was 17, right? And my daughter was born, born in 2008, like either when I had turned 19, right around when I had turned a little after I had turned 19, but I had never seen myself as having been groomed. Right? It's funny, like looking at the stuff with Shannon Sharp, right? And people are like, oh, well, this 50-year-old man is dealing with this teeny bopper, right? To each his own, right? But to think that, hey, before you're 18, that's in the law's eyes, you're a kid. Let me fast forward. My daughter was born. I ended up having a child with this woman, right? My parents were like, well, you can't be a fighter pilot with baby mama drama. If I would have known what I know now, I would have just went on ahead and went into the Air Force.
Yeah.
Went into the Air Force and went for my dream. So instead of that, I still got exposed to the military, and I ended up working for a company called NAVC, which is actually Naval Sea Systems Command, which is part of the Department of Defense. So I was a civilian employee with both civilian and military leadership.
So talk about this. It says that you served as a technical liaison for Allied navies on international missions from 2008 to 2013.
Yep.
I can't imagine what you were exposed to during that, right? Can you talk about that experience?
I mean, you probably were exposed to more as an Army officer.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
But for me, what it was is the system that's currently shooting down drones in the Red Sea, the Mark 41 vertical launching system, that was my system. So we were doing a lot of testing on the Mark 41 vertical launching system. Like our first combat deployment of the Mark 41 vertical launching system and the SM-2 missile, the first actual combat use of it, or at least in the defensive way, was last year when they shot down, the Houthi drones and stuff like that. That was the first time that it had actually been used in combat defensively. That system has been in place for like almost 40 years.
Yeah, that's what I like. People don't realize like the tech we have. It's not like it's not like AI started yesterday. It's here now. Like all this tech has been around for a while, right? And regardless of tech.
And before it was known as AI, it was known as machine learning. And before it was known as machine learning, it was known as algorithmic, right? It's following a particular algorithm to be able to get to that. And to think that there's more power in our cell phones than what put us on the moon.
Yeah, I say that all the time. Right? This is mind-boggling, right?
You know what I mean? And to think that the stuff that shoots down is shooting down missiles out of the sky, shooting down other missiles outside the sky, in the sky, ballistic missiles, is technology and computers that are 20 and 30 years old.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it is. So I did that for about 5 years.
And do you still have like a top secret clearance, or that's over with?
I don't have that clearance.
Okay.
I don't have that clearance. Okay. When I left for law school, your clearance only lasts either 5 or 10 years after you leave. But yeah.
So next question, why would you punish yourself and get a law degree and master's in business? Are you just that driven at the time?
Oh man, that's actually a that's a great question. The I actually went to law school because I was tired of paying lawyers for trying to be able to see my daughter. Like custody battles and all that stuff, like the amount of money that I was spending and time that I was spending and not really understanding the process. So my own court situation with child custody was what actually inspired me to go to law school, right? And I also had a mentor at the time who taught me the importance and also the power of the law. His name was John Hatcher III, who was the president of the Ventura County NAACP for like 28 years at that time. And he took me underneath his wing and taught me actually literally how to write, letter writing, and how to advocate and diplomacy, all those things. There's actually a post office named after him in Oxnard, California. So he encouraged me about going to law school while I was an engineer.
And how long were you a public defender?
I was a public.
And was that in Baton Rouge or someplace
That
else?
was in Shreveport, Louisiana. I was a public defender from 2019, May 2019 to October of 2020.
And you always hear like, on the news, whatever, like, there's for every one public defender, there's like 20,000 million, defendants, right? Is it really that bad in the court system?
There are a lot of people who do not have private representation, who do not have private lawyers. There are a lot of people. And people think that public defenders are supposed to do the same job as a private attorney. And in some ways, there's a certain standard, but with the number of cases, a judge can assign me a client just by saying, Mr. Montgomery, you're going to be representing this person. And just like that, regardless of my caseload, right? So at any given day, at any given point, each week, I might pick up 10 more clients. And I'm trying to get through each case, right? And think about it in this perspective. I had to kind of check some of my clients at first, because they would tell me, oh, well, you're supposed to be doing this, you're supposed to be doing that, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, wait, hold on. Did I arrest you? No. Okay, did I put these charges, did I do put any of these charges on you? No. Was I the one that was out at late at night that got picked up by the police? No. I said, well, I'm the only person that's in your corner right now that's trying to help you. So, yes, I understand that you feel that I should be doing all these things, right? But I wasn't the one who got you in any of this trouble, and I'm the only person that's trying to get you out of this trouble.
And is the reason, like, since there's such a discrepancy between public defenders, how many they handle, is that reason there's so many plea deals?
You're trying to get good deals for your clients. Yeah, there's a lot of plea deals, and everybody's like, oh, take it to trial, right? Everybody's like, take it to trial. There is no way that you'd be able to take all of these cases to trial and be able to adequately prepare for each client. So what you're usually trying to do is you're trying to get good deals for your client. And one of the things that I recognized early on that allowed me to get good deals for my client was that I was not belligerent. I will say I was ruthless when I first started. Mm-hmm. And I put it like this: you would much rather make a deal with me than go to trial with me. And the reason why I did that was because, all right, we'll be here all day. I'll make you prove every single last element. So if you knew that I was willing to fight out the gate, then it was like, he's going to fight me on this. So let me give him, they used to say it. I found out about this. They said, at the Shreveport District Attorney's office, they said, oh, you got Jamar today? Because it was like, I was going in there, but if I knew that you're going to give my client a good deal, like, let's talk.
So how do you do this? Like, I'm pretty sure all your clients were like, hey, I'm really innocent. But like, how are you able to tell, okay, this guy's not innocent, let me make a deal, versus, okay, like, this guy actually didn't do it, maybe I do need to take this guy to trial because I don't want to have an innocent person go to jail for even it's like 2 years, right?
Well, the thing was, is I was dealing with kids,
Mm.
so I was a juvenile public
Oh,
defender,
okay.
right? And you know, oftentimes the thing is you have to tell your client you have to. There's a moment where you have to build trust and rapport with your client of like, look, I'm the only person that's here trying to help you, and I have an obligation to keep what we have in confidence, right? So the one person you don't want to lie to is your lawyer.
Mm.
Did you do it? They're saying that you did this, right? They're saying that you opened up this person's car, or you went into this person's car. Did you do that?
Because that's going to change the way you defend him, right?
Not even how I'm going to defend it. It's gonna help me understand what needs to be proven.
Mm-hmm.
Just because
Okay, I got it now.
did this particular act
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're guilty of a particular crime.
Okay,
Right?
I got it. Yeah.
So you may have did this particular thing, but now it's about they're trying to charge you with this crime. Can they actually prove those things? Right? So let me find out. Like let's have a conversation so I can understand what actually went on. And then that lets me know on what kind of deal, or is this something that really needs to be taken to trial?
So now there's like a high profile case in the news, wherever it may be. A lot of people will say, oh, the justice is not being served, whatever. But from my point of view, and correct me if I'm wrong, our system is not based on justice, it's based on adversarial system, right?
It's an adversarial system.
And most people don't understand that.
And it's an adversarial system that is not necessarily based on justice. It is an adversarial system that is based upon law and procedure.
And that's when you have a, first year public defender is going to get destroyed by a 16 county prosecuting team, and vice versa. You got somebody rich can afford like 10 super lawyers going against us prosecutors. Like, it's always unfair and unbalanced, right?
You're trying to give yourself as an unfair advantage as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to give yourself as much advantage as you can as possible. The law does not have a good track record for giving your rights back after you've released them.
Yeah. Another thing too, I don't think people realize. I don't think people understand the what I call the saucers of making law, right? The saucers of the court system, right? It's not like Matlock or Suits or LA law. It's nothing like that. It's like dirty, nasty, like gross
in an
mechanics.
Orderly fashion.
Yeah.
In an orderly fashion.
It doesn't move fast.
They will screw you. They will screw you from here to kingdom come. And if you don't know what your actual rights are, man, you're gonna be in a world of hurt.
Yeah.
A world of hurt. And that's one of the things that inspired me about going to law school, is because there's no way. And I have to hire a lawyer in order just to protect my rights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gives you a totally different perspective on what the law is there for. And especially, when I wasn't protected by the law, when I was a victim, you know what I mean? Like, that puts a whole nother perspective to think that, you're dealing with the child custody and child support system, and it's like, I'm being held accountable,
Mm-hmm.
but, my attacker, the abuser isn't held accountable.
Yeah, it's craziness. And then you also spent some time as a civil rights advocate for the NAACP.
Yes, I did.
Is that still, I might get slammed for this question, but is that still a viable organization? Are they still doing the good things like they did in the past?
It depends chapter by chapter.
Okay. So it's more of a chapter-based organization?
It depends chapter by chapter. Okay. I was blessed to have come up under a very active chapter, like waking up 2:00 in the morning because we were getting calls, and we're going out to a police call to stand as observers, right? That's the kind of pedigree that I come from. That's the kind of chapter that I was under, of meeting with the police chief, of meeting with the district attorney on behalf of folks, of advocating for folks with the EEOC and helping them with discrimination complaints. That's where I came up. And the thing is my mentor, John R. Hatcher III, he was like, when people come to the NAACP, they're on their last leg, and they don't really believe that you can do anything to begin with. But folks say, well, have you gone into the NAACP, at least in Oxnard, Ventura County? And a lot of good work was done, and I was happy to be a part of that.
Change the subject. Tell us how you take care of yourself.
Ooh, take care of myself in which way?
Spiritually, medically, physically, any way you want to define it.
You know what? So, first off, I'm a Christian, right? And one of the things that has been very helpful for me is really maintaining a strong relationship with Yeshua HaMashiach, right? And with Yahweh, is having that daily prayer time, that daily talk with Him. Another thing that has been real good for me is, you know, identifying the things that I like, identifying the things that I love. Jesus and Yahweh, the name's divine. Man, a brilliant provocative character study of Jesus and Yahweh that would challenge the way we understand our cultural heritage. Man, you always be dropping gems on me. I really appreciate that. Absolutely. I'm gonna take a look at this. What else do I like to? How do I take care of myself? I'm kind to myself. I talk nice to myself.
So many people, including myself, suck at that, right? Like so many times I'll catch myself like doubting myself or like destroy myself, and then another voice comes in. Would you talk to someone else like this? I said no, I wouldn't. Let me like course correct.
Yeah.
But so many people have a hard time with that.
Bruh, like just talking nice to myself. Like if I make a mistake, all right, you can do better. Versus you
suck.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
those kinds of things, and we don't realize how much that really shapes our thoughts. And I had to go to therapy to really help switch up some of those things. And it wasn't until, golly, it's like that's the great part about having great mentors and then having therapists and focusing on your mental health to get yourself together to help you shift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how do I take care of myself? I try to do things that I love. I try to take time out for myself. Look, I go get haircuts, right? I go get haircuts so I can, like, I'm a handsome guy, so let me
shine a little bit.
Let me shine a little bit, right? I go in, I treat myself, right? I put on good colognes and things like that, right? I got my African fits on, right? You know, I was coming on to the Cavness experience, so let me get a little suited real quick and feel good. I got my J Montgomery on, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, we gotta talk about that too.
You know, I'm doing it all. So I just try to. But the first thing is having the same way that you would talk to your wife or talk to your girlfriend or talk to your husband or talk to your significant other, literally having that same kind of talk with God.
Yeah, I watched a YouTube video a couple of weeks ago, and it was based on like the negative voice in your head. It was like it's part of you, but it's not really part of you, right? It's like you have to master, like, you know, that kind of stuff.
You absolutely do. You absolutely do, and you have to ask yourself, where does that voice come from? Where does that voice come from?
Yeah. We're deep in that. It's like some consciousness somewhere else, another dimension, like, you know.
For real, is it something that's coming from your childhood in terms of somebody was extremely critical of you, and now that's the same voice that you hear?
Yeah.
Right? Like, man.
Or to really go off the scales, like, is it like a voice from another dimension, you know?
Bruh, you talk about folks that when they've been on acid trips or, you know, mushrooms, and, you know, I personally believe that they're opening themselves up in a portal, right?
Yeah.
Those are just portals.
Yeah.
You know, even marijuana, right? And that's one of the reasons why I don't smoke anymore, right? Is just you just open up your brain to things that have always been there, but you just weren't able to access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about something deep here, right? Since you brought up God. So obviously you believe in God, correct?
I believe in Jesus and Yahweh. Yes.
So a lot of people believe in God, but how do you prove He exists? How do you prove there's a God? Or is that even possible to do?
Ooh, how do you prove that there?
I mean, I think a lot of times spiritual experiences, we believe in God, but like scientifically, you know, like how do you prove it? And not only that, like assuming there's a God, like why is He only why does He only talk like some like people like Moses, Aaron, like these random people, right? How He just says, hey, everyone on earth, I'm God. Do what I say, or these are consequences, right?
It's interesting.
And one more thing, like, why do you only speak to Israelites, you know? Like, I think there's been like 20,000 gods in the history of the world, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I think people believe, but like, there's doubts, right? If that makes any sense.
Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, right? No man gets to the Father but by me. And there's how do you prove? That is a great question. That is a great question. I think what happens God has made us. He said we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Mhm.
He has made us so powerful that whatever we believe becomes true. So if you believe in him, right, all things are possible, right? If you believe in other gods, right, well, he said, I'm the one true living God, right? So that doesn't say that there aren't other gods, right? It just says that the one that has lasted the test of time, the one that created the heavens and the earth, right? Yes, these other folks have power, but nobody will ever have power like me. So how do you prove that God is? That is a great question.
I don't think you can you? I mean, having faith is nowhere close to being like proof, right?
Said, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Let's see. That's Hebrews 11:2.
I mean, I'm not part of this interview, but
I'm looking at you.
I mean, my brain. I mean, I would just say that's a very interesting question. I have my own thoughts on that though.
That's a good question.
Okay.
I you know what? That's going to force me to go deeper into my study, and I appreciate you for asking me that question.
And so this is what
I just know that he's real in my life.
Yes. So this is my pet peeve. Like a lot of people, like let's say the God's real, but they quote the Bible, right? And to me, that's like saying, Santa Claus is real by quoting a Santa Claus book, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I definitely believe God's real myself. I feel like spiritual experiences, right? But like, it just, I don't know how you can prove. Then again, you can't unprove it either. You can't say prove he doesn't exist. You can't, right?
I think the way that you prove it is through the way that you live. Through the way that you live.
And another thing too, like things are too perfect, right? Like if the moon was a coordinates off, we'll all be screwed, right?
Yep.
Everything's perfect. Now, of course, people have disease and stuff like that, whatever the case, but like everything works some kind of way, right?
Yeah.
And it can be a coincidence. Another thing too, like for me, like even like suppose I didn't believe in God, I also refuse to believe that two random atoms bang together and everything are created, right?
Yep.
I don't believe that, right? It just, I don't know. But
the intelligent design, right?
Yeah.
Intelligent design. So there was something intelligent that had to design those things and put those things all in order, right?
Yeah.
And to imagine that those things were put in order before humans even existed.
Yeah, but it's definitely interesting. Like going to YouTube, watch these different science stories. The Big Bang. Is there something after the universe? All this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's always intriguing to me.
Absolutely, and especially now that we're starting to understand quantum a little bit more, and how spiritual principles, that there are scientific parallels between spiritual principles and what we're now starting to understand with quantum entanglement and string theory and all those things.
Here's one for you. Like, I can remember the story in the Bible was back where they had like somewhere in the Bible they make this tall ass tower.
Tower of Babel.
Yeah, and then God destroyed it, made everyone speak different languages. I kind of think we're getting the same point, right? Where like we're bringing direwolves back with all this genetic engineering. Like, are we getting close? Like, okay, we're trying to make ourselves into God, and the real God's gonna come. Hey, okay, let's start over again.
That is a very interesting point. That is a very interesting point of once again of humans trying to be God, right? And literally taking. It's one thing to walk in our godly nature and our godly design. It's another thing to try to become him.
So what's your take on the direwolf coming back?
On what?
The direwolf. They brought back the direwolf.
The dire wolf.
Yeah, you didn't know about that?
No.
Oh shit. Okay, I catch up. So there's a next company in Dallas, Texas, right? And so the direwolf was on Game of Thrones, but it's actually a real animal back in 20,000 years ago.
Wow.
Supposedly I brought it back. They have actually two wolves, right? Now some people are saying, man, you brought back the direwolf. What are you doing? Sometimes they're like, that's not a direwolf. We just genetically re-engineered a wolf. Like I'm like, I don't care what it is. They brought it back from a diff, right? Like this is from like two wolves that have sex to make these wolves, right?
Yeah.
You did it in the lab, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
New solutions create new problems.
Yep.
New solutions create new problems, and technology in and of itself is a good thing. In fact, technology in and of itself is neither a good thing or a bad thing. It's neutral. It's how we decide to apply it. And once again, are we going to apply it in a way that one makes our life better, or are we going to apply it in a way that doesn't? Are we going to apply it in a way that creates abundance, or are we going to apply it in a way that creates lack?
And so the day after that came out, there was a meme on the internet. It was like, today direwolves, tomorrow had like T-Rexes flying in the air with a Elon Musk Neuralink in the brain with lasers firing out the eyeball.
Just think about the I mean, as an engineer, right? That is an integration challenge. That is, if you're able to integrate that, like, now I'm gonna be running like hell, you know what I mean, to get away from the T-Rex, you know what I mean? But just to understand all that's required in order to make that happen.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a slippery slope, right? Like, you bring back direwolves, do you next you bring back your granddaddy that you loved, right? Or like,
which brings up a good question about our understanding of consciousness and the spirit, right? So just because you're able to reanimate a body, right? What is the connection? Really understanding that connection between the body and the spirit, and also the mind kind of / soul, right? So those kinds of things are have always been interesting to me, especially now that we have AI, which isn't necessarily thinking; it's just making up. You know, it's just doing probability.
Have you heard of the show called You're a Million?
No.
So basically, it's like stuff like a long way in the future, right? Like tech stuff. And one of the episodes was like, it was following his family, and the daughter died, right? And the mother like, no, I want to bring her back. And the father like, no, it's like, it's not the real daughter, it's a clone, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the mother's like, I don't care. I want my daughter back. I don't care if it's not my daughter for real. I want that back, right?
Wow.
So that kind of conversation probably take place in the future, I think.
Absolutely. Think about being able to download somebody's consciousness and then creating that as a chatbot.
Whoa.
Right?
That's not crazy. Like,
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, think about that. Think about that. Being able to I mean, they're doing experimentation with biocomputers now of taking neurons and being able to have that operate as computers. Right? That's a whole nother level to things. But as an engineer and a technologist, it's exciting, right? As a man of God, I'm looking at it like,
I don't know if we should be doing this.
Yeah, you guys are playing with some stuff that you don't really understand, right? Because it's not just the physical part of things. It's also the.
I mean, because the Bible says don't deal with black magic, witchcraft, right? I mean, it's kind of the same thing,
When you're now talking about necromancy and dealing with dead spirits and things like that, let the dead be with the dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what right now, what excites you about tech?
Oh man, just all the opportunity. That's what's exciting me about tech. To tell you the truth, like it's every day that you turn on the news, it's something new. It reminds me of blockchain. Like 2007, 2000, especially let's say 2016, 2017, 2018. Just every day is something new. And with technology, in the last few years, it's been blockchain, AI, and now quantum. It's just, I love seeing everything that's coming out. Everything that's coming out.
Next, what scares you about tech?
People. Technology doesn't scare me. People do. Like, technology does not scare me. And I gave a speech on that of the human element of AI, but I mean, you really brought it out as the human element of technology. That I'm not afraid of. Why am I afraid of an atomic bomb? I'm afraid of who's going to use.
Yeah, who's going to push? I'm sure that finger who pushes the button.
Exactly. Right. That's what I'm afraid of, because that's what I'm afraid of. The technology is the technology. Who decides how it gets used and who it gets used upon that's all a human decision.
Let's move to crypto, right? And first, like, I mean, you don't have to answer this, right? But like, why is it like every time I get someone like reaches out to me on LinkedIn or whatever, they're like, hey, it's like cute little sexy Asian girl. Hey, let's go to WhatsApp, and there's instantly a crypto scam, right?
Absolutely.
Either WhatsApp or Telegram. It's always a crypto scam. Like, come on now. I might look dumb, but come on now.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm jealous of their marketing. I'm jealous.
I'm
of
sure a
your
lot of
money.
people fall there. A
Yeah.
lot of people, because they are like beautiful women.
Absolutely. But what is it playing on? It's playing on two things, right? Men's lust and also people's desire for success or to prevent
I mean,
poverty.
you can't beat it. I gotta have a sexy lady and get rich. Hey, I can't turn that down.
I got a sexy lady reaching out to me and I'm not even rich yet. Imagine how many are going to reach out to me after I'm rich.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
So talk about what you do with the Black Crypto Club.
Oh, Black Crypto Club. Shout out to Dr. Boyce Watkins. The Black Crypto Club is part of Dr. Boyce Watkins' Black Business School, and I was one of the lead instructors for the Black Crypto Club back in 2021, 2022. Yeah, man. Just part of my efforts of helping to educate people about crypto and get more people into blockchain and crypto.
And so give us a quick like dummies 101, like crypto and blockchain. So crypto is part of blockchain, or blockchain is part of crypto? Is like all one big
Gotcha.
ecosystem, or
That's a great question. So, blockchain is the foundation technology for crypto. You would not have cryptocurrency if you did not have.
and Bitcoin's including all this too, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bitcoin is a type of cryptocurrency that is based upon blockchain. So think of blockchain as a giant Google sheet that records every transaction that happens. It records every transaction that happened, who it was sent from, and who it was sent to, and it cannot be changed. Or let's even think about it even better. You ever written on a whiteboard with permanent marker? Right? Think about that. Think about a whiteboard that everybody can see, everybody has access to, right? But it's logging every transaction in permanent marker so it cannot be changed. And so now you're utilizing that as a ledger, as an accounting ledger for moving value or moving these crypto tokens from one person to another. And it's like any other thing of what we would consider money, we give those things value.
What's the chance it's ever being hacked?
With quantum technology, there is a much higher chance of it being hacked now that quantum technology is coming online. The challenge is that they're, in order to, nation states are now having access to quantum technology. And so if Bitcoin or Ethereum was ever hacked, right? If it was ever hacked, and quiet is kept within, the cryptological community, is that the algorithms, the encryption that supports cryptocurrencies and blockchain has already been hacked.
Okay.
But there are only a few players who have that capability. So the moment that you hack it, everybody who's in the know knows who did it.
Okay.
So, and the thing about blockchain and cryptocurrency is that it touches everybody's national currencies. So, and this, in some ways, it's being integrated into everyone's either financial system, definitely their financial systems, and now it's being introduced into the monetary systems.
Do you think ever replace it like the monetary system?
I think that not that it will replace it, because companies don't have, not companies, but countries aren't keen on giving up control of their own currencies, but it will make it easier for influential individuals in their countries to make transactions with others.
Okay.
Instead of having to depend on the existing banking structure.
And you need some kind of tech background, like to go on the blockchain or Bitcoin and like figure that stuff out?
Nope, you don't need a tech background. I got my mom involved in crypto. I got other people involved in crypto.
Okay.
There is a level of education that comes with it, and it can seem a lot, which is why, as somebody that loves teaching, you won't be confused. Right? You'll understand the basics. You'll understand how to open up your first wallet. You'll understand how to make your first transaction. Right? And the moment that people make money or watch how they've invested in a digital asset and then watch it grow, you may not know what all of what Lockheed Martin does, right? But you bought their stock. You may not
Is there a Wall Street or NASDAQ of cryptocurrencies? like where people track all this stuff?
CoinMarketCap.com.
Okay.
Yeah, CoinMarketCap.com, which is probably the biggest authority for cryptocurrencies currently. And if I'm not mistaken, CoinMarketCap is owned by Binance.
Okay. And you ran for Senate in 2020.
Yes, I sure did.
So, like, what was you supposed to do that, right? I mean, like, you ran as independent. Were you just
Yes,
trying to
I
make a
did.
case, or like, did you really think you had a chance to win? Talk about that background.
You know, I realized how much of a threat I was when folks from the Democratic Party started coming after me. I didn't realize how much of a threat I was until, you know, the only people who get attacked are people who are actual threats. I ran as an independent on literally bigger, better business, social action, education, you know, which you're familiar with, on a juvenile justice platform, on a blockchain and cryptocurrency platform. And I was in it to win it. I was in it to win it. I knew that it was a very long shot, right? I knew it was a very long shot, but I ran a serious campaign. And I could only imagine what more I would have been able to do if I was as well funded as some of my as the Democratic front runners.
So one guy I really like, I really don't know his politics, but the Republican senator from Louisiana, I can't remember his name.
Bill Cassidy or John Kennedy?
John Kennedy, right?
Yeah.
The stuff he says is just like classic, right?
Oh, absolutely. Don't call the police. Call a crackhead.
Yeah. Like what?
Yeah, man.
And he also had like in U.S. Congress hearings and stuff, or like, yeah. So totally off subject, right? So the other day I heard the best diss I ever heard in my life, right? So I was on the train, right? These two people were talking to each other, right? I don't know if it's like boss, employee, I have no idea, right? They're talking, and the one person said to the other one, you know what? I just figured out you have limited intelligence, and everyone around you works harder than you, right? And the other person kept on talking, like, does this guy not get how bad of a diss he got? Basically, he told you, like, you're stupid as blank and lazy as whatever, right? But he just kept on talking like, you know, no big deal. Like, I would have started fighting, right? Like,
Absolutely.
you just talk limited intelligence, like, what in the world?
Absolutely.
But I can't wait to use that on somebody, right?
Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. You want to talk about being able to politely cuss somebody out, politely insult people, right? And that's the thing, is that it gives you an idea of what of somebody's comprehension.
Mm-hmm. It's like way over this
Way
person's
over their
head.
right? But which is also can be dangerous, right? Because then the moment that they find out, this son of a, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It clicks like
It
3 days later.
right? It clicks. So you know, it's just interesting that. It's interesting. I'm never one to start off with disrespecting somebody. I usually just respond to it.
Like I said, I don't know if they're real best friends, or I don't know the dynamics of the relationship,
that,
you know?
That was one hell of a diss, though.
Yeah.
You got limited intelligence, and everybody around you works harder than you.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you come back from that one.
So you've done stuff on law, politics, technology, education, host of other things. What do you consider yourself as? Like some people consider, you know, as a black man, a technologist, human being. Like what Dr. Jamar Montgomery is a
multi-dimensional creator.
I like that.
Multi-dimensional creator, and a creative problem solver.
I like that.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, with all the stuff you're doing, you could only work on one thing. What would it be? Like someone said, hey, a higher power said, hey, you know, you're doing all these things. You need to pick on one thing. Whatever you pick, you'll be like superstar status, change the world, all that kind of stuff. But you have to leave everything else behind.
Being a world-traveling diplomat that gives speeches that changes lives.
Okay. So we have our next question. So we're here right now. Suppose we had the ability to go 500 years in the future or 500 years of past, but you have to stay there. Which one are you doing? 500 years of future, staying there, staying in the current time, or going 500 years in the past?
So I have 3 options?
Yeah. And to make it kind of easy, like 500 years of past, there's like, suppose there's no race, like you don't have to worry about going back in the past, being black and all that kind of bullshit, right? It's like everything's cool, so to speak.
Stay in the present.
Why?
So going back in the past, right? Going back in the past, that means that means that it's that means that I'm making the assumption that if I would have made different decisions, that I'd be in a different or a better place, right? And maybe, right, if I'm able to keep certain things in the same, right, and that makes the assumption that I'm able to take into account all the things that could be different, right, and take into account all the infinite other possibilities that could have been there. Going into the future means that I don't get to experience all the life that I will have and the things that I will learn, right? So going right now, if I went back into the past, that means that I still have to relive another five. I have to relive those 5 years, and I may not necessarily be in a place where I want to be. I'm making that assumption. If I go in the future, I go with what I know now, and maybe I don't like what I see in the future. But if I stay in the present right now, I get a choice. I get a choice in every decision that I make on whether or not I'm going to maximize my life.
Yeah, I have the same answer for different reasons, right? I'll just stay here, but I don't go in the future because a trip might be a paradise, but what if I go there and there's a sign, we move to Mars,
Yeah.
Or it's like a nuclear holocaust, right?
Yeah.
And 5 years have passed, like, I ain't built like that, right? I can't miss a bubonic plague. I can't miss the sword strikes, right?
Yeah.
All diseases, like, we're not built like that, right?
Yeah.
I think this is the best possible time to be alive right now.
Yeah, I do. And all we have and all that's real really is right now.
So, what's your take on the Department of Education going away, so to speak?
Do you want my perspective as an American, or do you want my perspective as a Black American?
Let's do Black American.
As a Black American, how can we complain about the education system failing our children and then be pissed off that the Department of Education is gone?
And this is my thing, right? And a lot of people say you need Department of Education, like, keep from racism in schools, all that kind of stuff. But like, when all that stuff happened in the 60s and 70s, there was no Department of Education. It started like 78, right?
Yeah.
And another thing too, like, I could be wrong, but I don't think any stats have improved as far as education and stuff, right? Now, I think the salaries of admin people have increased dramatically, right? Number of admin people, right? Like, I think in Seattle's public schools, like, there's one admin for every 5 students. That's been crazy like that, like, and yeah, plus you get to like unionization of teachers, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
As an American, I'm looking at it like, so what about those student loans? Right? It was given in the name of the Department of Education, and then you handed it to a private servicer of the debt. Like, that's what I'm looking at. But I will say this, when it comes to the federal and the state government, I'm all for the federal government being an advocate for the people, in case they don't get justice with their state governments. And so I recognize the importance of the federal government, and even vice versa, being able to have protection from the federal government by your state government.
So let me ask you this, right? So I believe in capitalism. I don't believe in communism. However, right? I'll give you this example, right? So there's a neighborhood in Dallas, Texas, called South Lake Carroll. Jerry Jones lives there. Everyone's millionaires. A lot of money, right? Great schools, all this kind of stuff, right? Because it's based on property tax. And then you have an area in South Dallas, South Oak Cliff, like, one parent home, pretty much everyone's on welfare. Like, there's no way it can be balanced, right? Now, I'm not saying just be like people from South Carroll give money to South Oak Cliff Carroll, but it has to be something to fix that, right? It has to be, I don't know, like a statewide sales tax. It's like this seeming inherently unfair, right?
Well, Texas is an interesting place because of how they handle their taxes, and the school districts are independently funded versus a state like California, where it's a central pot of money and it gets dispersed, right? And so there's the level of standards and things like that. I will say this, that the whole capitalism, communism, all those things, right? Are we talking about capitalism? Because if you want to be honest about it, we live in from a governmental system, we live in a republic that is based upon a capitalist democracy, right? And then take it even another part, it seems like it's dog eat dog capitalism at the bottom, and crony socialism at the top.
Yes, I agree. So, from your point of view, what is social justice?
Social justice. That is a man. You asked some of the best doggone questions, man. I'm glad that I came on. Social justice. What is social justice? It's a great question. What is social justice? Social justice is equity and power in a system that you're subject to.
Mm.
Equity, power, and responsibility in a system that you're subject to. Equity, meaning that you have a level of ownership in it, right? You have a level of say in it. You have a level of also responsibility in it, right? If you don't like the way that your system is, then you have to do something about it. And you can't complain about the very system that you're subject to and not do something about it. But also, your system also has to follow its own rules in responding to you.
So, what's your take on this, like DEI stuff being rolled back?
That's an interesting question too. Do you want my answer as a Black American, or do you want my answer as an American?
Um, how different are those answers?
As a Black American, Black folks were number 4, number 5, the number 4, number 5 beneficiaries of DEI.
It wasn't like white women the number one.
White women were the number 1.
Yeah.
Right, and so that comes down once again to the hijacking of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that was supposed to be for Black folks.
Do you know this comedian named Bill Burr? This white
Yes,
comedian.
absolutely.
Do you see the scale where he said, like, it was about this for like a nanosecond until the white woman with the Gucci booted Cadillac crossed over the fence.
Absolutely.
Like, damn, that's fucking dead point on.
Absolutely. So as a Black American, I recognize that DEI, Black folks weren't the major beneficiary of it, even though we were supposed to. As an American, I look at DEI from that's the reason why China is a major competitor now, because America has always excluded, particularly Black folks, from being part of the economy and part of technology. I'll give you an example. Imagine the number of engineers and scientists and rocket scientists that we could have had if Black children were aware back in the 1960s that it was Black women who helped us get on the moon.
It would have made a big difference, no doubt.
It would have made a big difference. Imagine if more Black folks were encouraged to become engineers and become pilots, encouraged to become bomb technicians during World War II, right? Instead of just making the Black soldiers cooks during World War One, just how much of an impact that we could have had.
Or the potential brain power, I want to say wasted, but kind of
wasted. It was mismanaged. It was mismanaged, and the very folks who mismanaged it, right? The very folks who mismanaged it are the very folks to blame for why we're in this situation right now. Instead of focusing on homegrown talent, right? Who was over there in China? Henry Kissinger and Nixon were over in China trying to build up better relationships in China, not for the benefit of the Chinese, but for the benefit of America and American companies. Instead of focusing on the homegrown talent that you have right here in the United States, Black folks who were wanting to be part of the economy, who wanted to be a part of the American way of life.
I just had a guest, the one before you, Andrea Lynn. She's a Chinese immigrant, and she immigrated from China just to come to the United States to become an engineer over here.
Absolutely. Different way of life over there.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, right? And so this has been my criticism, like DI stuff, right? So let me phrase it. So let's suppose you're like pro left-handed people, right? There's nothing wrong with being pro left-handed, right? But are you really for diversity if you're only saying like pro left-handed people, right? I think too many people like pro whatever the group is, that's all fine and good. But they say it's for diversity. Or is it really? Are you really advocating for everyone? Or are you just only advocating for like your specific group?
I'm gonna say this, that I am against DEI for DEI's sake. I'm for DEI of giving yourself a competitive advantage. And if it's anybody who is deserving of DEI protections, are people with disabilities.
People all forget that.
They forget.
It's like if you're blind, handicapped, whatever. Yeah, you're right. That should be the number one thing, right?
That should be the number
that should be
one
on top
thing.
of the list. Yeah.
The number one thing. People with disabilities. So physical disabilities, mental disabilities, things like that. Those are the people. Those are the people who had. Those are the people who, regardless if you're black, white, right, you're gonna find somebody with a disability, regardless of that. I think those are the people. Those have been the forgotten people, and those have been the overlooked people, and those are the people who have not been included in our societies. Think about it in this perspective. Does this building have an elevator?
Yeah, but it's very small.
Right. So think about that. So are people who have disabilities included in that?
And actually, I have a guest coming on a couple of weeks here. He's in the elevator. I had to have him measure his wheelchair, and I went to measure the door to make sure it could fit in right. Because I was concerned, because it's a really small elevator, I was concerned it wouldn't fit in right.
Well, think about it this way. What about old people?
Yeah.
Right. So people with or let me put it like this: differently abled people. Right. That's where that's where my focus on DEI is people who are differently abled. So, I mean, in my campaign, I had a person who was blind on my campaign. Right, just to show I walk and I live this.
Yeah, nice. So next, you also do something with the Best Buy and C Spot.
Yeah.
Helping young people do business or something. Can you talk about that? In Bellevue, correct?
Yeah, in Bellevue with the boys in partnership with Best Buy, C Spot, and the Boys and Girls Club in Bellevue. I teach entrepreneurship. I teach an entrepreneurship class to teenagers and give them some life lessons. And right now, their final project is supposed to be sometime in May. I forgot what date that we had, and we just talked about it. But they're going to be presenting their business ideas, and we're going to be doing a podcast where they get to present their business ideas.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So next, talk about what you're doing, as far as startups in the area, and especially with venture mechanics and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Shout out to Ron, Venture Mechanics. As folks may or may not know, I'm the diversity czar at Venture Mechanics, and so all of the diversity and equity groups, so the Black founders and funders, Latino founders and funders, Filipino founders and funders, veterans founders and funders, LGBT founders and funders groups, I have all been involved in the creation of those particular groups. It's helping out with the Startup Saturdays that we've had, the Summit for Underrepresented Founders that we were putting on quarterly. I love, there's no energy like startup energy. And in fact, that's where we met. No energy like startup energy, man. So yeah.
So I have to ask you, so you're doing all this, but you actually have a real job at a major corporation, right? And I'm presumed that you're an overachiever there too. You're probably working 40, 50 hours a week there doing great things. And you're still doing all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you don't sleep, you have an AI agent doing stuff for you. What's going on here?
I have an AI agent that helps me do some of these things, and I've been cutting back on some of the things that I do so I can really focus in and hone in on my dreams.
Okay.
But yes, I do work for a major company. I work for Boeing.
Okay.
On the defense side of things. So
okay.
Yeah.
And you're able to use your experience working for the Navy before at this current job?
Absolutely. What I found out, man, is that I am great at integration. I am great at taking all these different teams and getting them to work together. I'm great at that. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this question might throw you off. Are you happy right now?
I am.
Okay.
I am. I'm very happy right
Good.
now. I am getting to know myself better and even learning to have an even better relationship with myself.
Is it important to you to have a legacy?
Very important.
Okay.
Very important. The legacy that you create is the impact that you've had on others people's lives.
Okay. Next question. You have two options. Suppose you're 20 years old right now, right?
Okay.
Option one, you live a normal life. You get sick and all. You work some jobs.
Yeah.
You live 80 years old, right? But you live completely average life. 2 generations after you die, no one knows who you are. But regular life, whatever. You're not poor enough to just regular middle class life.
Yeah.
Next option, everything you touch turns to gold, right? You cure cancer, like you're successful. You're a combination of Elon Musk, Albert Einstein. Um, Everything works perfectly. You never get sick. Um, you're up 24/7. You never get tired, right? When you die, everyone will know you for the rest of the time, but you die at 50. Which one do you pick?
I'm picking whichever one where the Lord says, "Well done, my good and faithful servant."
Okay. Wait, not to answer the question.
That's the way. That's the one that I'm choosing.
Okay.
That's the one that I'm choosing. And my pride and my ego wants me to say, everything I turn touch the gold, right? Turns to touch the gold, and people know me, right? The other part of it is the one where I'm 80 and nobody, that. Well, who
You're
doesn't
80.
remember
You're
me?
80 in some nursing home.
Who doesn't remember me?
Yeah.
Does my family remember me? Do I have an impact with my family? Right, and those that I love the most and that care the most about me.
So you're the first person to answer that like that way. Amazingly, 95% of people say they'd rather live to 80 than be 50, which I always thought was interesting. I thought most people pick 50.
You're trying to. What did Reverend Ike say? I want my heaven now.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. So I'm gonna have you help me with something real fast, right?
Go ahead.
Have you deep dive. So to get to it, I'm hosting this tech event for Seattle Tech Week, right?
Yes.
What do you think I should do? What I'm thinking about doing right now is like have a showcase where 10 startups come, have like 10 tables, the 10 startups like demo the product, MVP, whatever it case may be, and afterwards do like some kind of keynote or panel.
I'm gonna say this.
Okay.
So watch this. This is how you know you're dealing with somebody that's smart, right? So they get free consulting by bringing you on their podcast, right? So that you can get the ideas. Just note that. I want to point that out. What kind of impact do you want to have?
I want to have a big impact, right? And of course, part of it, thought my process, having like 10 startups come on. If I have an application process, 10, like 100 startups should apply to be in the showcase, right?
Cool.
So then I can market Kevin's HR to these startups, have them come to the podcast, that kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
And of course, it's a brand, Kevin, hosted by Kevin's HR. I'm trying to do sponsorship, all that kind of stuff,
Absolutely. So.
And the tagline is going to be, you remember that show called America's Got Talent?
Yes.
I want to be Seattle's Got Talent. It's going to be like the tagline.
I'm with that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Like, should I open to all tech, like a niche tech,
I think you should open it up to all tech. I think you should open it all to all tech, but you should open up to tech that has unique HR challenges.
Okay, yeah.
And really speak to the specific challenges that those companies might have, or companies in specific industries might have. So,
Okay.
Here it goes. This is the freebie that I'm throwing out. Is you're often dealing with neurodivergent people in the tech scene, right? So what are the challenges that neurodivergent people have with dealing with HR or dealing with company leadership in general? And how is it that you can speak to those particular things?
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
From a startup perspective, and also from a person, not saying that you're neurodivergent, but that would attract people who are neurodivergent.
Yeah.
To like, oh man, that's actually something I should implement.
Nice, thanks. Yeah, hopefully you can be involved some kind of way too.
Absolutely. You just let me know, man. Just give me a call. Yeah, I'm getting booked. So
yeah, I know you're an important person, do a lot of good things. So what do you think the future holds for you?
What does the future hold for me? The hardship, excellence, abundance, and love. That's what the future holds for me.
And how you deal when stuff doesn't go your way?
Curse, yell, scream, pray. Go and pray. I don't curse and scream and yell at other folks, but I'll take it up with God.
Okay.
I've had a lot of things not go my way. Like I wanted to be a fighter pilot, right? I dealt with that, and that was rough. That was a lifelong dream, right? And to watch that not materialize, right? And so now it forces me to rethink not that dream, but how I go about that dream of becoming a pilot, which I have some exciting things in the works. But when things don't go my way, I take a step back. I look at feel whatever emotion that I feel, right? Feel whatever I feel, but my focus is then on what's going to get me to where I want to be.
Mm-hmm. And where do you want to be?
In a place that I'm okay with.
Okay.
Right? In a place that I'm okay with.
That's a good point. Like, so many people don't accept who they are, don't accept where they're at, right? How can people do a better job? Like, you know what? I'm doing pretty good right now. Like, I'm not,
Oh man, that's an attitude of gratefulness. That's an attitude of gratitude. And it's once you recognize, if you remember what you didn't have and how you felt when you didn't have, and then you get to a place where you do have, right, you tend to appreciate those things. And so I remember how unhappy I was when I focused on the things that I didn't have. And then to be to be in a situation where things got worse, and I started thinking about the things that I lost, and I'm pissed off with myself because it's like I didn't even appreciate what I had, right? So it's really the art of letting go. Really the art of letting go. Like, yeah, I may not be where I want to be, but I can change things.
So going back to Elijah, what's a lesson you want him to learn from you?
Oh man, what's a lesson that I want Elijah to learn from me? I want, damn man, you asked me a great question. Me and him were just having this conversation last night. We, like, all the things we've been talking about were things that we talked about last night. I want Elijah to learn to give himself space to be human, even when other people don't.
Yeah.
I want him to learn that he's valuable and important because he's alive, not because of what he can do for other people or what other people might get out of him about what he's able to provide for himself. I want him to learn from me that there's no obstacle he can't overcome. I want him to learn from me that he is the only person standing in his way of his own dreams and hopes and visions.
Let me ask you this, right? I'm not saying you to do this right, and most parents will disagree with this, right? So obviously, just graduated from college, 19 years old, great background, right? And he's gonna jump in the job market, trying to do. Would he be better served, like taking a year off, traveling the world, giving different experiences,
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember.
Of course, like, I know his economic situation, nothing like that.
I remember having a conversation with this young man about possibly going to Oxford University so that he can get out and at least be in a place where he's in an academic environment, but he's got a lot of freedom to do whatever the heck that he wants to do.
That would be my advice. Of course, I know your economic situation, nothing like that, of course, but yeah.
Just what it is just trying to give him options.
Yeah.
Right? Give him options. And once again, even if he does it at 19, 20, right? It's just, once again, money gives you a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
Gives you a lot of access. I'll say that. Gives you a lot of access. So, once again, and that doesn't mean that he necessarily has to work for anybody. It's just about creating an idea, right? Operating on that idea and succeeding and or failing at it, and then moving on to the next thing. But really opening himself up to all the different experiences. And so part of this is just giving him exposure, right? Of, yo, you were in Louisiana all your life. Let's get you. Let's get you living in a different place and experiencing something different, right? And he came at the best time because, in my opinion, Seattle summers are unmatched.
Oh yeah, there is, yeah. Rest of years, maybe not so much.
Yeah. Oh man.
The summertime, it's nice. The sun's out. It's like 75, 80. There's so many tech events going on and people to network with.
Can't beat it, right? Can't beat it. So just being able to give him exposure, and so it's like, oh, I thought I wanted to do this, but give him the freedom and the latitude to go pursue that. Oh, I really don't like that.
Yeah.
Go do something else, right?
Exactly.
Go do it all. Like, because this now really is the time to experiment with it all.
Yeah. So another thing people might not know about you, you actually post a lot of content on TikTok. So why TikTok's popular? I'm a big fan of TikTok. I love TikTok, right? But why pick TikTok to do all the stuff you're
I'm
doing?
actually going to be putting more on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, it's just been um, why TikTok? You know what? I used to go on TikTok live a lot. I'm getting back to doing that. It's just a challenge, but I like TikTok because I feel that TikTok has the best recommendation engine out of all the social media services, and now really focusing on monetizing my content. That's been the main focus, but it's really been more about trying to be consistent about posting about because like I said, I'm a multi-dimensional creator, so giving myself the space to create and have mediums on putting it out because I the same content that I put on TikTok I also put on YouTube and then I also put on Instagram, but I really wanted to be focusing more on LinkedIn to really boost up the credibility of my professional voice.
Yeah, I post everywhere, but I get the biggest engagement on LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like X and Instagram, I'll be able to get anything on those places, right?
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. Yeah. LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube, and kind of Instagram, but yeah.
So you got any like big projects you're working on next couple of months you want to talk about?
No, not at the moment. You know, I build my watches.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the watches. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, let's talk about the
Montgomery
watches.
watches. So this is my rose gold one. I'm actually working on a couple exciting things right now. That's involving blockchain and watches, and some other things and AI. But they're not ready to talk about.
Okay,
yet,
understand.
But I started building watches because I was tired of not seeing like the color combinations in the Rolexes.
And how do you make the watch? You have a factory in the States. You make them. You hand make them.
I make them by hand. If you have a J Montgomery on, it's because you got it directly from me. As a matter of fact, my mentee for his graduation present.
Yeah.
Before he graduated, I get that to you before he graduated, right? He should have been already graduated, but that was a failure by Southern University. But yeah.
And so you make each one by yourself.
By hand.
So how long? Has it take like 10 years, 20 months? Like I can't imagine you making it in one day.
The good part is I utilize already built movements, but I use quality movements. I use quality Japanese and Swiss movements for my watches, and then it'll take me a couple hours. But then I'm making sure I'm also like doing my quality control checks on the watch.
Do you ever see like putting in a factory somewhere and make like mass producing them?
Not necessarily. I can. I've thought about it. For me, it was more of a passion thing, and when you get a watch from me, it's a personal connection. It's a personal connection. If you have a J Montgomery on, you are now part of my network.
Yeah.
And
You're one of the guys, girls, so to speak, right?
Absolutely.
What do you think needs to be changed by the legal system here?
Oh man, it's a cartel.
I mean, I can't disagree with that.
It's a cartel. What do I think that it needs to be changed? I think more people need to understand and learn the law and learn their rights. At least how to exercise their rights, because the only rights that you have are the ones that you exercise. What needs to be changed about the legal profession? The crookedness that's in some of the bar associations. I can't speak to any other bar associations, but the Louisiana Bar Association, goodness gracious, man, you piss off the wrong person, and the next thing you know, you got the bar association on your behind.
So, go back to when you're 15, right?
Yeah.
Like, give your advice. What should they learn? Like me, if I could be 15, I would tell myself, learn to public speak, do sales, coding or AI, and physics.
I go back to when I was 15. Leave them older women alone. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. It's not good for you. It's not good for you. I would say get to know yourself. Get to know yourself better. Go live life fully. 15. I was already in college.
No, I forgot about it. So maybe you need to backtrack years, like maybe 10 years old then.
10 years old. Would I listen? That's the question, right? Like that's the question. It's like, well, I'll go back and say it, but would I listen? That's the big thing,
Yeah.
right? I would say, I don't know. That's a good question, man. Like the things I would say, the things I've already said, right? I would say the things that I already said. Um, I would start instilling the importance of getting to know myself and self worth, of self worth,
Okay.
of learning how to value myself.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so you consider yourself a man of God, correct?
I sure do.
How do you do being a man of God with the world is not really a place of God, right? How do you interact with the two, right? And make them balance, so to speak.
I'm in the world. I'm not of it.
Okay.
Right. I'm in it, but I'm not of it. Right. And so, my job is just to is just to help be a lighthouse that helps point people to the way. Right. And so, in the quest to be a better me, right? And what I use as my direction for being a better me is the Bible and God's word, right? And so I just live a life that shows, yo, this is what I believe, this is how I operate, and hey, if you like what you see, this is the way that I did it. Right, there's no need to be jealous. There's no need to be jealous. There's no need to be resentful or any of that. You could have all this and more, right? By having a relationship with Him, right? So my job is just to be, an advocate and a diplomat for the kingdom of God.
Okay. And so your job at Boeing, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're not making minimum wage. I'm guessing you're making pretty decent wage, right? But with all the stuff you have going on, wouldn't you be better served of quitting Boeing and focusing energies on all the other stuff you're doing that might potentially make you way more money than working at Boeing? Or is Boeing kind of your security blanket, lets you do everything else?
Well, I was at a point in my time where I loved airplanes. I love airplanes, right? And there's some benefits to being at Boeing. There's benefits to being at Boeing, and it's part of my strategic plan, right? And you asked a very great question. You asked a very great question. We'll see what the future holds. But I'm utilizing everything that's around me and in my immediate environment to put forth what I want to do. And so, there may very well be a time in which my talents I'm taking my talents to South Beach.
Like, how do you do your schedule? I'm presuming you're not a wing type of person. You just don't wing shit. But you have a calendar you use. How do you keep track of everything, prioritize stuff?
I use a calendar. What I have a challenge. What gets me in trouble is mission creep. Right, and because I'm so curious about things, I love learning. I could be in 1,000 different directions. So what I've been doing is I've literally been using ChatGPT, saying, hey, these are the things that I'm working on right now, but what's going to, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, blah, blah, blah. What are some of the things I should really prioritize, right? Because now I've also been reading this book called The Big Leap, and it talks about operating in your zone of genius. And for a lot of this time of my life, I've been operating in my zone of competency and in my zone of excellence, but not feeling fulfilled because I haven't been operating in my zone of genius. So that's what I've been doing is working through whatever mental blockages I've been having that prevent me from operating in my zone of genius.
You make a good point. I think a lot of people that have the stuff they're good at and stuff that they suck at, right?
Yep.
It's for the longest time people say, hey, work on what you suck at and make it better, right?
Yep.
To me, you should be working on what you're good at to make it even better, right?
Absolutely, right? Like learning to delegate and getting to that point. Oh, well, I don't have anybody. Well, that means that there's some skills that you need to learn as far as influencing people so that you can delegate, right? So it seems like you see that you got to learn this one thing, and then there's two other skills that you have to learn to make that happen as well. But I'm now focusing more on the things that I am good at, and delegating away the things that I'm not good at. So and that's been a challenge.
One thing that I think you're good at is like I think you're an accomplished public speaker, right?
Yes.
But like, of course, I'm sure you didn't wake up one day and be a great speaker, right? Like, how do you learn the skill to be a public speaker, accomplished public speaker, and how can people become better public speakers?
Oh man, that's a great question. So I got my start doing speech competitions, and there was this lady or teacher. Her name was Jean Miller, and Jean Miller used to talk like this, and she made sure that she enunciated every word and spoke utilizing her diaphragm, right? And we used to think that Miss Miller was weird until when we got into the speech competitions and we blew everybody out the park. So I recognized the importance of public speaking then, and I participated in plays, and I also did concerts and things like that. So it was a gift that I had that I started continually developing. And then people would tell me, man, you're very eloquent. I love hearing you speak. Right? I'm like, I'm just speaking. But I started really listening to that and honing in on that. And then I would get opportunities to speak, and I'd focus. And how do people become a better speaker? By being a bad speaker and allowing yourself to take the feedback of others. Is everybody going to be a great public speaker? No, but everybody is capable of giving a great public speech.
Yeah, I like that. We all can't be a Barack Obama or Bill Clinton, right?
Absolutely. Everybody can tell one great story, right? And being able to tell a great story. One of the things that I learned was about communicating why, then how, then what. And being able to touch on the emotional parts of what people, it's because it's not about you, it's about what people want to hear.
Yeah. And one thing I don't people don't get about public speaking is like that's for you. Like suppose you get booked to speak about crypto in front of 100 people, right? They don't know who you are really, but they're gonna presume that if you were picked to speak about crypto, you know what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
Now, of course, you might mess around with the 5 minutes, prove to them that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but they're gonna presume in their mind you know what you're talking about, right? And I think a lot of people like go, "Oh, I'm scared to talk." No, you're the expert. You like you know.
You want a real tip? You want a real tip? Practice speaking directly to yourself in the mirror.
Okay.
Practice speaking directly to yourself in the mirror. Then, as you get comfortable talking directly to yourself in the mirror, record yourself when you speak.
Okay.
What are you doing when you record yourself when you speak?
I always have trouble recording myself.
Right?
Because no one likes a voice, you know.
Well, the thing is you have to learn you have to learn and get comfortable with hearing your own voice. Because the reason why you don't like your voice is because you've told yourself something about your voice.
Yeah.
So once again, that self-talk that you have.
Yeah.
The next thing that you're going to do after you've talked to yourself, you're going to record yourself. After you recorded yourself, let's say you're in a situation where you have to speak, right? Get up and speak.
Okay.
Don't speak sitting.
I've heard that before.
Get up when you speak. If I don't care if it's a just two people in the room. People might look at you crazy. Why are you speaking? Why are you getting up when you speak? Because I want to be better at this.
Yeah, I know they said like if you're doing like cold calling on sales, always stand up. Like never do it sitting down. Always stand up.
Have a smile on your face when you say it. My mentee said something to me about like you could be telling people something crazy and you say it with a smile on your face. Yeah, because it's always. Yeah, I can call you a complete idiot.
Yeah, or I can tell you, hey, you have limited intelligence.
Yeah, you have limited intelligence. I was telling my mentee about some of the things about when you're interacting with people, and I said, you know how like you'll be somewhere and you see somebody that you know, but they're speaking to somebody. I walk up to the person I know and I say, you know what, or the person that I don't know, hey, I meant to interrupt. I didn't mean to be rude.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Right then and there, right? The only way that you get good at doing things is by being willing to suck at those things first.
Yep.
So if people want practical tips on being a better public speaker is talk to yourself in the mirror so that you can think about what it is that you want to say, because oftentimes we're worried about rambling.
Mm-hmm.
Record yourself so that you can hear, you can literally watch and hear yourself when you say something and you click out, because that'll let you know when other people will click out.
Yeah.
Right? Then the next thing that you're going to do is stand up when you speak. Then when you find yourself, you've built up to the point where you might be talking to a crowd, talk to look at their foreheads.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily look directly in their eyes.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. Plus, I think you got to know your weakness too. Like, for example, me, like, I think I'm an average public speaker, but like with me, a lot of people don't know this, but like I didn't speak until I was 5 years old. I had a really bad stutter until I was 9.
Wow.
And like I always, when I like public, I always had to slow down, right? Because my mind, like how my brain works, I'm trying to say everything in my brain right before I forget it, right? So I'm like blah, 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 blah. So I have to like make an effort. Okay, before I start this, like talk slow. Another thing that's kind of weird about me, like I can talk in front of people, no problem, but I can't rehearse anybody, right? Like if I say, hey, Jamar, I'm doing this big speech tomorrow for investor pitch, I'm gonna go practice. You say, hey, practice for me. I couldn't do it right. I get anxiety. I said, no way. Like you'd have to kill me, right? I said I haven't, but put me in front of 100 people. I'm good.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Maybe like self-criticism from people who are close to me in the past. I don't know.
No, you should dig into that.
Yeah.
You should dig into that, because you'll find that there's a breakthrough on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. So, is there anything else I didn't ask you yet? Anything else you want to talk about?
Shoot. What you think, Elijah?
I'm not sure. I've just been enjoying the conversation.
Okay. I don't know, man. I don't know. This has been a great.
Cool.
This has been probably one of the most enjoyable podcasts that I've been on, man.
Thanks. Everyone says that when they come to the podcast. That's one thing I'm like really proud of, right? Of course, you want downloads and views, but I'm more proud of people saying they had a great time on this.
I thought I was a good podcaster, man. You're great.
Thanks. Can you say your social media so people can reach out to you?
Absolutely. So I am Jamar Doc Montgomery on LinkedIn. Jamar Doc DOC, last name Montgomery, MONTGOMERY. I am Dr. Jamar Montgomery, DRJAMAR Montgomery, on IG, on TikTok, on YouTube, and I am www.drjamarmontgomery.com.
Dr. Montgomery, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man. Jason, I appreciate you for having me on, man. This has been incredible.
To our listeners, thank you for your time. If you found value in today's conversation, that's another weakness I have too, right? I have no short-term memory, right? Like the stuff I'm reading now, I know I still memorize, but my short-term memory is like beyond horrible.
It's all good.
If you found value in today's conversation, do me a favor and follow, subscribe wherever you listen or watch, and share this episode with someone who might benefit. You can also learn more about Cabinets HR if you're a small business aiming to make HR simpler. Thank you for your time today, and remember to be great every day. All right, cool.
You did great. For the short-term memory, I would love to recommend you Elevate. It's an app that helps you with like short-term memory. I've been doing it. It's been working really well. And they have different drills and whatnot.
Cool.
This guy right here is the person I go to for all my biohacks.
Okay.
He gave me some stuff this morning, PQQ, that like after I was sleepy and all that stuff, the moment he gave me that stuff, I was like, okay. And I didn't feel wired or nothing. I just felt like